Hey, it's time for the Warrior of the Week from Vance Air Force Base, and this time we get to talk to a civilian on base. It's Pearl Laxague. How are you, Pearl?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Now, how come we're interviewing a civilian this time?
Well, I always get to come home to hear the wonderful stories my husband talks about when he's flying his planes, and I get to listen to other spouses talk about what they do, and I think that we do things that are just as important for the military. We support them. We give them what they need in order to go to work every day and help our country.
There's a base of unsung heroes that make up 50% of the population. That's a rough 50%, but and we never get to talk with you all. So I knew that's why you were coming. I don't even like using the term military spouse because it's not even, that just doesn't even seem enough. Military supporter? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Unsung hero.
Yeah. And to that end, you've been a busy person out at Vance Air Force Base. You have like a 2-page list of things that you've been doing in the spouse area. So just tell me, what are some of the things that you've been up to?
So we first moved here in May of 2021, and when we did, it seemed great. We drove into Enid. It was a little flatter than Massachusetts, but, change. And 5 days after we moved here, my husband went to initial flight training in Colorado.
Right.
And I felt very alone. I did not leave the apartment. I did not really make any meals. I just hunkered down and tried finding boxes with things that I needed in it. And I felt alone.
Yeah.
And so when he came back, I made it my mission to make sure that no one else felt alone. And it took me a few months to get there, and I signed myself up for different jobs on base, and I said, you know what, Pearl, you're going to push yourself to do all the things that you used to do back in Massachusetts. So I became meal train coordinator. All the lovely little babies that come into the world need to have supporting moms, and in order for the moms to support the babies, we need to support the moms. And so I started doing that for a little while, and then I went to Meg Hughes and I said, hey, when people first get here and their spouses go to initial flight training and they are very alone, it is really daunting, and you really, really want to run away. And you're wondering, what did I sign up for? Because I signed up to marry a spouse, but I don't really know if I signed up to be a military spouse. So we created the IFT coordinator, or key spouse, and that I essentially created my own role. And I check in with all of those wonderful spouses whose airmen are away. And we go out for drinks, and we go on a walk, and we go to the dog park, and just making them feel like they have a place around here.
So is that a coordinator position that when you leave, because you're going to be gone here in a few months and off to the next base, is that something that's going to continue at Vance?
Oh, yeah. It's already been filled.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
It's one of those things that you don't really have to talk to someone about their experience when their husband was at IFT. You can just look at them and know that they have felt that loneliness so far. And with our husbands deploying all the time, we need to start to realize that we can get through it, and we will get through it, but with the help of our spouse community.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Good on you, Pearl. That's like, honestly, it's going to be one of those moments in the history of Vance Air Force Base that people look back on and going, I remember when. So good for you.
Thank you.
The spouse space. I love that one, too. Tell me about the spouse space.
So in late August, I got a message from Meg Hughes, and she said there are a few spouses that would like a space on base. And I said, well, I've always wanted a space on base. I live off base. Anytime I had to go on base to go to the gym or the commissary, and I had maybe 10 minutes to spare, I had to find somewhere to just sit. Or, I work remotely, and so I was always stuck in my apartment for hours on end, and I needed to get out. And so Meg and another key spouse went to Military and Family Readiness Center, and they said, we would love to help you, we just don't have the space.
Right.
If you find the space, we'll help you. So they went to the chaplains, and the chaplains were like, well, we have a whole chapel community center. Let's go check it out. So we were given one classroom. We had a meeting, I think, on a Wednesday, and by Friday we were painting. And then 3 weeks later, we were doing such a good job that the chaplains came in and said, hey, here's the classroom right next door. Would you like to paint it and wallpaper it and make it another room? So within a month, we now have 2 spouse spaces. One is a co-working and living environment. There's a coffee bar. There's internet. I go and I will tutor there. And then the room next door is a conference center. So if any key spouse meetings need to happen, or if anyone needs to have a private room to talk to someone, it's there for you. And it's our space that we own, I guess. And through that, actually, the enlisted on base have now gotten a space in the Chapel Community Center, so they can also feel like they have a space and they have ownership of something on base.
Very, very cool. Now, Pearl, can I put your husband on the spot for a second?
Yeah.
Can you grab the microphone? What is your name?
My name is Lieutenant Joel Rattray. I am just the most average student at Vance Air Force Base.
Well, Joel, what I wanted to ask you was how has Pearl changed since this program began?
I wouldn't even say that she has. I would say that she's been pretty much exactly the same person. She's always been this kind of outgoing, project-oriented, project leader kind of person. But it has been really great to see that come back out since she wasn't working here in the same way that she was in Massachusetts, where she was a teacher. And when we were working together during the pandemic, I got to see that like from our home. I got to see all these great things that she did. So it's been really refreshing to see her kind of jump back into that role just as a spouse instead of teacher.
Well, and I guess the question may have been, as the spouse that's leaving the base, and what has the response been of the other people that get you're taken off with? What's the feedback been like?
Oh, it's great. They're very sad that we're not sticking around for 3 or 4 more years. To stay here just because they love her more than they love me.
You all never actually leave Vance Air Force Base. They always come back. It seems like so. You'll see us again when you're like a colonel, or something like that. Yeah. All right. Well, good on you guys. Pearl, thank you so much for what you're doing. We always say thanks to the service of your country, but truthfully, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me.
For the spouses and for Vance. Like I said, this could be like a page turner, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, we've already had other bases all over the world asking how we've created a spouse base, and now I'm off to Ramstein, and Meg Hughes has already said, well, I'm coming too. Let's make another spouse base. I'm like,
She's going to change Germany now. There we go. Pearl Laxague, thank you so much. Bless you. Have a great day, and it was great to meet you guys.
Thank you so much.